right, Greenleaf fans, I just watched the episode, and I gotta say these cliffhangers are something else. For starters, I didn't know we were moving through time so quickly. I mean, based on the dialogue of the episode, like okay, tomorrow we're not going to Calvary, we're going to have service right here. May's going to lead. Apparently it's Saturday, and I was under the impression that each episode would cover, at least like one day. Okay, the first day, the second day, and then of course like the seventh day will be the day the church is going down. But no, apparently Sunday is going to be the last service, and then Tuesday is when the demolition crew is going to be there. So there's that. But before going any further in the review, make sure if you are new, hit that like button, hit subscribe, follow me on social media, links are in the description, and of course hit the bell notification icon, that way you don't miss out whenever I post new content. So we start off the episode at the hospital. Noah and Grace are talking with the doctor about AJ's different options, whether he will decide to go home with his parents or decide to go into a therapeutic program for at least 6 weeks due to the circumstances of what was going on. But at the end of the day, it would be his choice. AJ opts to go with Noah, leaving Grace stunned, and then we go to the theme song. Next scene, we got Bishop, who is just angry at Jacob over the assumption that he could have anything to do with Daryl James's death. And then he tries to explain how he's using this against Carissa, and how when he spoke with Tara, it wasn't a lot that he said. He didn't even mention the wills to her, because remember in the last episode, Tara didn't want to say too much because she didn't even know what was going on. But Jacob's like, look, I'm just trying to get some information, but I'll let you know as soon as I get more, and then we'll talk again. But then May jumps on him for even sparking the flame over something that could affect the family losing the house because of a war going on between Carissa and Jacob. Carissa and Jacob. And I gotta admit, May was on point during this episode. I mean, watching this episode made me sad because it made me realize we're one episode closer to the end of the series, and we're going to miss these amazing monologues where May just ripped into dang near everyone in this episode with her words. And she pretty much dismisses Jacob from the kitchen. And then, she asks whether or not they're going to Calvary tomorrow. And he's like, wait, go where? To Calvary. James, it's the last service. And it's like, no, I didn't forget. It just slipped my mind. Part of me was like, wait, did it just slip his mind because of the anger involving Jacob and the will? Or the fact that he actually did forget and needs to be reminded? But then we go over to the church. Phil, Judy, and Charity, they were just finishing up like a board meeting, and I believe Charity was going on about having some sort of video play during the offering, and then they would have a song, pretty much just the history of Calvary since it's the last Sunday. Judy's like, instead we're going to play a video of the merging of the churches, and they pretty much have a back and forth about that. Tuesday morning is going to be the bulldozer day, and she wants no nods to the past in this church due to the Greenleaf's less than stellar past within the walls of the church building itself. Grace happens to be in the hallway and overhears everything that's been going on. And yeah, pretty much she can tell Charity's just being used. So she actually asks Charity if they can go to her office to talk. And she pretty much breaks down the fact like, look, I see how you're being treated right now. Darius and I have a plan that might be something that could stop the wrecking crew before Tuesday and get H&H up out of here. But what we need from you is information in regards to Phil's parents. His mother happened to be involved with Edenvale Lendings. However, she passed away. So is there any way you can get me in contact with his father? I believe it's Marcus DeMar. And no, I didn't jot down his name because it was too hard to pronounce. And heck, if I knew how to spell it. Apparently, he used to be a Black Panther and changed his name after the fact in order to kind of hide his identity. Him and Phil aren't on good terms, and he happens to be living in New Orleans, so it's up to Grace to, find him herself in order to get some information. And that was a pretty interesting moment because I guess it took Grace seeing Charity to be treated the way she was in order to kind of use that against Charity to say, hey, you know what? you got your AP position like you wanted, but how much is it really worth to you? It's like, look at how you're being treated now. And you talk about Phil and how he's pretty much Bob's right-hand man and being used like a pawn. That's pretty much going to be you within the next 10 years, if not the next 10 months, because Charity tries to drive home the fact that a Greenleaf is the key to running the church, but Judy doesn't seem to think so. So we go over to May, who's going to chew out Carissa to tell her to leave the house, but she actually tells her exactly why they're getting a divorce, because Jacob was the one who wanted it because she cheated with Fernando. Now, I'm not trying to justify cheating on any front, but I'll say that for later in the video. She pretty much brings up that Marcel, who apparently was the first maid / cook before the current one, was in addition to Alexa and Tasha. So pretty much Jacob has in the laundry room. So May's face when she heard that was crazy. So basically, May is like just blown away by the fact that Jacob had even more women than she originally thought. And apparently, Carissa didn't want a divorce. She didn't want to blackmail the family with the will. But if he wants to play hardball, that's what's going to happen. So if May can convince Jacob to just forgive her, then they'll squash it. That'll be the end of that. So we go over to Aaron, Jacob, and Bishop downstairs. Aaron's looking over the will and says the second one does erase the first one, but if you go to court, public perception might overrule the facts, basically meaning that it looks suspect that, Daryl James was originally supposed to get the house, then he just so happened to die, and then you get the house, and now y'all trying to make a new church. It's going to look a little shady. So in the midst of that, he basically says, look, just try to make peace with her and things will work out. So May actually wants to get Jacob alone to make a similar plea to make peace with Carissa in order to save the house. However, she's a little less than delicate when it comes to it, because it starts off with a scripture quiz about different, verses. And then she goes into breaking down how wrong Jacob is for not forgiving Carissa, but at the same time, all the women he's been with and everything she's had to endure during their marriage. And she makes a valid point, but then Jacob throws in a line about, well, Ma, how am I supposed to forgive her? You've never done anything like this. Well, what if I have? And it's like, well, remember when you messed around with Ray from Sister Sister, and then you had Grace, and Grace isn't really, a Greenleaf. But she doesn't say that. She pretty much says it doesn't matter. You go up there and forgive her right now. And he walks out like a little... I love these scenes between May and Jacob, because it literally is like a mother scolding her little boy, because then again, based off how May and Jacob interact in scenes like this, it kind of explains why Jacob is pretty much submissive to Carissa, because it's like Carissa is a lot like May. That's probably why they don't get along, because they're so much alike. Look at that. So Grace calls Phil's father. However, she strikes out very quickly by mentioning she used to be a pastor, mentions his late wife, ex-wife, and Phil. And that's the end of that. So Charity's talking with Connie briefly in the hallway about the video idea. She pretty much shoots it down because Phil and Judy shot it down, and she walks off. Charity looks, disappointed. Bishop goes to see Tara, and before he goes into the little church, he goes, Lord, we need you now. But can we just talk about the scene itself where he parks the car, gets out slowly, then you have, it looks like a rough side of town. You got this one girl who kind of walks up to him seductively and kind of, puts her finger twirling in her hair, almost like, oh, okay, I'll show you a good time. But he kind of walks slowly. He sees a young man pushing like a shopping cart full of stuff, and then he goes in. But we switch scenes again. Grace, Noah, and AJ arrive at the Greenleaf house. Basically, Noah is there with AJ so AJ can pick up his things so they can leave. However, as he's going up the stairs, he overhears the fact that Grace is giving Noah this information about a doctor or a therapist that he can talk to about HIV. And AJ basically says, that's why I'm not staying, because I knew you would be bringing this up after I specifically told you I don't want to talk about it. Now, I'm not saying that Grace is in the wrong, but she's definitely acting like she's the only one that knows what's best for AJ. And she's definitely not. It seems like she has no faith in anyone but herself to handle this. because it's really, and Bishop brings this up later in the episode, it's like Grace is trying to do everything herself because she's trying to fill in the voids left by her giving up AJ. However, she has to realize that Noah's here, he's his father, and they have to work together. And it's basically almost like she's neglecting everything the doctor told her in regards to, regardless of what AJ chooses, it's his choice. And you're basically stripping him of his freedom to choose what to do by constantly shoving all this information in his face. So I feel like given time, they can work through the problems, and then he'll decide for himself to see the doctor and whatnot. But at the end of the day, just rushing him out, him coming out of the hospital, and the first thing you pretty much pelter the parent that he chooses to go with all the information that he was trying to avoid, isn't the solution. So May comes around and swoops up Noah so they can get some tea. And then we switch back over to Tara and Bishop. He tells her that he didn't make the phone call. It must have been Mac. Obviously, she's still upset about it. And he asks how they can move past this. And that's pretty much the scene in itself. Judy fires Charity because, you know, she heard about how she was talking with Connie. And yeah, she pretty much had that same level of glee that she had when she fired Corinne. So basically, Cherry burst into Phil's office going on about how she's not budging on this situation involving the video, and how can Phil just sit there while Judy fires her. And basically she's like, you know what, you can't fire me, I quit. And pretty much goes on, it's like, oh yeah, you can get those little snowball titties instead of these big ones. Basically you gave up, you know, again, like I said in my last video when Judy did that prayer over the food, it's like Phil went from soul food to whole grains. And I'm like, well, Charity, yeah, I mean, I don't feel bad for you. I really don't. I'm sorry, not sorry. You basically did this to yourself. Because in a way, it's like, I don't agree with everything H&H does, but that's business. At the end of the day, it's like, you know, if you have AP, who's pretty much in a way like kind of like the vice president, if you will, it's like every time there's something that needs to be done business-wise, or the order in which something is done, in this case a church service, if you're going to be butting heads with the powers above you every step of the way, then you are a liability. Not to mention the fact that after you were told no, you go behind their back in order to get your own agenda across. And it's like Judy said, if Connie would have said yes, well, yeah, again, I'm not saying that firing was the best thing, but I can definitely see the justification for it, especially the way that the two women talk to each other. I mean, that's definitely not professional. And I'm not saying that I'm the biggest Judy fan despite my redhead love, but Charity's usually the first one to, I'm not saying that Judy doesn't sound condescending from time to time, but if we're talking professional dialogue or jargon in the workplace, then Charity's definitely the one who's always out of line. So yeah, I can see why she got fired. All right, so we go over to Bishop and Grace. He comes over with some barbecue. I'm like, dang, Bishop, save a brother a rib. And again, like I said before about AJ, he pretty much reassures Grace that, look, you know what, 20 years, you came back when nobody expected it, so he'll come back someday too. I like that scene. It was very nice. Again, I wish I had a rib though. All right, so we go over to Jacob and Carissa, and that was actually a pretty good scene. Again, I'm not saying I'm siding with Carissa, but I can, for the first time in a while, I've actually seen her perspective of, damn, Jacob really has put her through a lot, but he can't bring himself to forgive her. And she's like, you know what, since your mother knows that I'm right in this situation, I'm going to back off the will, but this marriage is over. And he knows it. So let me just put it this way. It's like when it comes to cheating and whatnot, I hate to use this example because I've already done the sister video, but the entanglement of Carissa and Jacob, it's like the man can cheat like 15 times, but the one time the woman cheats, he hurts and wants to end it all. You can make the argument, okay, well, Jeremy, apparently Jacob has cheated with up to 3 different women. However, he's never brought back a disease, whereas Carissa cheats once and gets chlamydia. So which one is worse? Well, I mean, what's 10 plus years of marriage with a cheating spouse versus the one spouse who cheats once, but then gets you possibly infected with something. I don't know. That's a very good, comparison there. It's tough, but I think that what makes Carissa's worse is the fact that she was willing to possibly bring the entire Greenleaf family down just to get back at Jacob. So I feel like her using that will was definitely something that impacted more than just Jacob. It would impact the whole family, as we see once we get to the cliffhanger. So we go over to Sophie and Zora, who don't want AJ to leave, and they have a nice scene together. I wish you could have gotten a little bit longer, not like 5 minutes long, but just the scene of those three talking a little bit more, because sad to say, we really don't get to see happy scenes like this. I mean, it's something that's rare in the midst of all the drama going on. But Grace comes in to talk with AJ just to say that, you know what, you can come home anytime you like, and please talk to the doctor. Basically kindly telling him, look, I know you don't want to talk about it, but I think it's something that can help you out. AJ leaves, then comes back, kisses her on the head, and then she cries. And that was a nice scene. Basically showing, look, I don't hate your guts. It's just that I got to choose my own path for right now. So we go over to Phil and Judy, and my goodness, Phil, you a dang fool. You know how... Okay, let me get back into reviewer mode, not, redhead Jeremy mode. Basically, she's reassuring Phil that the right move was made with firing Charity, but he's suspicious about what Charity said about how the church won't make it past Tuesday. And I wish she hadn't said that to him, because basically that goes back to, you know what, you can fire me, but guess what? The church ain't going to be making it past before the bulldozers come. I'll tell you that right now. So Phil is already suspicious that something is in the works, but Judy's trying to alleviate him by taking the midnight train to Georgia. I mean, going down south. I don't know how else to say. Look, this is a Greenleaf review, and I try to keep it as clean as possible. But basically, he doesn't want it, and I'm thinking, Phil, for all the brothers out there who love redheads, if you don't let her go down. But basically, she's like, wait, is this because I'm not officially divorced from Ken? Is something wrong? I just want things to go back the way they are. And like I said, no. And then she pouts and goes upstairs. I'm like, Phil, if you don't get your ass out of that couch and go upstairs and show her what you're made of. But then again, I'm like, well, I'm not a homewrecker. And apparently they shacking up. I mean, because of the fact that I knew something was wrong in the last episode. I'm like, they're acting like a couple and all, but I mean, I'm no expert, but I don't think divorces end that quickly. So yeah, I mean, for one point, it's like, in my spirit, I couldn't rightfully have relations with a woman despite how attractive she is. I got issues. And then get up the next day and preach in front of the congregation knowing I did it wrong. But then again, technically, Phil and Charity weren't married. They were just engaged and had sex, but then he called it off the next day. So technically, can you be engaged to someone who's married? At least I don't think. Look, I don't know. Okay, I just don't. Marriage is just such a weird thing nowadays. It just seems so simple, but now it's like there's so many variations on what a marriage is or what a relationship is. I honestly don't know. There's a lot of entanglement going on between different parties involved. Sheesh, that word is going to be used in these videos for a while. I hope y'all know that. And plus, Judy really gives me the vibe of, when she fired Charity, I just felt like this emptiness in her eyes. And like, she gives off the vibes of the daddy's little girl. Like, she was probably that the brat in school that everybody hated because she would just flaunt her dad's position over everyone. It's like, oh, I don't care what you think of me. My daddy is the most powerful person in this entire county, blah, 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 blah. So that's pretty much how I feel. Like, I feel like she was the person who was always rejecting people or telling people what to do. She always had to be the center of attention, or it was her way or the highway. But she's still fine, though. It's like, to have a mouth and lips that are so fine, but there's such wickedness that comes out of them. Yeah, I'm redhead biased and I can't help it. So anyway, moving forward, We have Bishop and May talking. He's pretty much confident that the Tara situation is solved. May isn't so sure, but he makes a point to say, look, we prayed, we cried, I darn near spoke in tongues. And he's like, you know what, let me get some ginger ale. I'm ready to eat this barbecue. I ain't gonna lie. I got my money together, so I'm ready to file my taxes. What time is this? 5:30 a.m. I'm going to call TurboTax this morning, make sure everything is in a row. I'm going to file those suckers, get them done, and then later on tonight, I'm probably going to order some barbecue from DoorDash. That's what I'm going to do. I got some ginger ale in the fridge now. Thank you, Bishop. All right, so Jacob comes in, says that he couldn't forgive Carissa, basically because it wasn't because of forgiveness. It's just because of the fact that I don't think I can go back to that thing. Basically, there couldn't be any healing going on. Look, I want to be quoting this Red Table Talk. I hope y'all get used to that. Don't unsubscribe, but dang it, it's so relatable to these shows. Basically, he doesn't want to go back to whatever that marriage was, and that's definitely a Will and Jada thing going on. I mean, it really is. Carissa kind of got that Jada demeanor. All right, I did the entangled marriage of what was it, Gary and Jasmine from Sisters. I might have to do one about Jacob and Carissa from Greenleaf. I'm probably going to do it, but here we go. Let's see here. Let me see. Where was I? Oh yeah, May makes his point to say, look, don't let Winky grow up without a father. You saw how AJ and Grace ended up. I don't want that for your youngest son. So, Charity comes in saying that she quits acting like, Phil wanted her to say, like, Charity, if you don't sit your lying behind down. Then we have Carissa, Zora, Sophia, everybody's coming down to eat the barbecue. And once again, I'm mad that I feel like a Solange because I want to sit at the table so I can indulge in those fried and barbecue goods. So, Bishop is pretty much telling everybody what the plan is for tomorrow. We're not going to Calvary. We're going to have service right here. But then a phone call comes through. Tara is wanting to talk again about she wants to talk again as soon as possible about the house, and the episode ends. The fourth day, folks. The fourth freaking day. So overall, yeah, this episode was pretty dang good. I mean, I don't want to say it was like super action packed, but it definitely kept my attention the entire time. I'm going to give this episode a solid 9 out of 10. I think it was a solid 9 out of 10. Again, kudos to the cliffhanger. The character interactions were pretty dang good. The Judy scene with Phil was just disappointing because I'm like, Phil, if you just don't, you're letting the brothers down. As one brother to another, you're letting us down, okay? You're letting me down because Judy was about to give it to you right then and there, but dang it, here you are. I don't know if you were thinking about Charity because of your emotions, or I don't know if you were thinking about Charity because you're just, it's like if Catwoman was trying to get it on with Batman. It's like, Selena, I'm working on a case right now. I can't, honestly, I think that's how I would be. I'm sitting in here in my chair recording this video, but you all don't realize whenever I'm doing my investigations, whether it be a review, evidence for a new theory, I'm in detective mode. So if a girl was trying to come on to me, it's like, not now, I'm busy. But then again, when you got Judy looking at you with those blue eyes, I don't know how you would say, I would say no. I'm just saying. But then again, if you're like, look, yeah, it's because you're not divorced, I would feel wrong. And not to mention the fact that I think Judy's probably going to realize that she wants Phil, but it's like the common thing that goes on in relationships when people break up and get back together. You got one person who wants things to go back to how they were without fully realizing that the person you were with is no longer that same person. You're basically in love with the idea and the memory and the past version of that person. It's like that quote I used to see all the time. It's like, sometimes you don't miss the person, you just miss the way they made you feel, Basically, Judy is the prime example of once you go black, it's like you can never go back. I mean, technically she did, but I feel like Ken was a complete rebound, so yeah. And then with May, it's almost like Nancy from the Oval trying to tell her son what to do and keep him in line, but it's like, well, you really aren't a saint yourself. However, I will admit that May wasn't wrong in what she was saying, but she's definitely hypocritical. However, you have to look at the fact that the Jacob and Carissa back and forth is endangering the livelihood of the entire family if they lose the house. So I can see why May was saying what she was saying. However, as she said, well, what if I did something like that? It doesn't matter. You need to deal with your situation. So I can see the people saying, man, May was wrong for that. But once again, you have to look at the fact that the Jacob and Carissa thing is impacting the entire family as a whole. Kind of like Charity. It's like her own selfish agenda of being AP cost the family the church because she betrayed Grace. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting to say the least. So, with that being said, yeah, pretty solid episode from start to finish. I have a few discussion videos I'll do between now and next week. And yeah, you're getting your Greenleaf review pretty dang early from me, so I hope you all enjoy it. If you would like to donate to the channel, feel free to do so on PayPal or Cash App, or join Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Yeah, The Oval tonight. That's the only other show I have to review this week. I do still plan to have my Have and Have Not and If Loving You Is Wrong rewatch reviews up later this week. Like I said, I had to prioritize taxes because today's the deadline. Also, I got a ton of eBay stuff to get ready. I'm probably going to spend Friday. Yeah, Friday. No, excuse me. Thursday's probably going to be the day where I just lock down and do nothing but eBay stuff because I got like over 100 things that sold. Thank the Lord. So I need to get everything ready for shipping for USPS pickup. And I will have my Have and Have Not and If Loving You Is Wrong rewatch reviews up on the channel either Friday or over the week. They'll be up before next week. I promise you they will. So, because next week will be like, hey, that's it. I don't have any taxes or anything that's slowing me down. Plus, I get paid on the 21st, thank God. So, I'll grocery shop for the first time in 3 weeks. I do have an interview coming up. Valerie from Bruh, Caroline Harris. We are going to do a Zoom interview, which will be face-to-face. I know a lot of people are like, the Desiree Ross interview was great, but you all prefer face-to-face, so I will keep that in mind. We'll be talking at 2 p.m. Eastern Time next Thursday on the 23rd, and I'll do some editing, and I'll have that interview up on the channel by the end of next week. And yeah, if you don't watch Bruh, it's on BET+, or you can find it online, and I can't tell you the website because, well, if I do, it'll probably get flagged. But aside from that, yeah, just expect my overview soon. Well, basically after the episode airs, so basically either Wednesday or early Thursday morning. And we'll go from there. But yeah, solid episode of Greenleaf. Just sad to say we only got 4 episodes left. And do you think they'll be able to stop the bulldozers before Tuesday morning? Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. And let me know your thoughts on the episode in the comment section below.